That's right, Katie, and we heard from several people, as you just mentioned. The company, SEACOR Marine, they're supplying hotels, meals, and grief counseling to those survivors of the family members who are left behind from the people still missing. Also, the NTSB, as you mentioned, they're in town investigating. They say to get answers could take from 1 to 2 years to know what happened. And also, the Coast Guard said even though it's suspending the search, if any new information or details come out, they'll be back in the air, they'll be back on the water in boats, and they'll be back searching the shorelines.
We've had to make the difficult decision to suspend search and rescue efforts at sunset today.
It's not what grieving families wanted to hear as the Coast Guard makes a tough decision.
The overriding factor is a person's, or the probability that a person can survive given the conditions that they're experiencing.
But today, for the first time, the head of SEACOR Marine, owner of the capsized liftboat, spoke. He stressed that 17 independently hired divers will not stop looking for the 8 missing men until the entire vessel is searched. He also answered questions about the weather that day.
The weather they were forecasted to encounter was well within the limits of the vessel, and the weather that they ultimately encountered was well beyond the forecast, as far as we know.
Saying it was solely the late captain's authority to proceed.
The go, no-go decision is entirely the captain's. The captain can rely on us, everyone ashore, or weather reports for advice, but ultimately it's his decision.
But Eunice Griffin, a captain who has overseen trips around the world on tugs and vessels like the SEACOR Power, just showed up with experience and doubts to the press conference.
You don't leave like that with the weather forecast they get weather for 3 to 5 days.
He says his calls as a captain were overridden by other companies.
Yeah, of course they do.
He remembers wanting to go around a hurricane and the Home Office making him go through it, and the barge sank.
You know, they always blame the Cap. That's what's bad. He's the one that gets blamed, and he's not around to back himself up. So I know he talked to the office. They can say what they want. I'm not stupid. I've been doing this too long.
Still, loved ones in excruciating pain and heartache hold out hope.
There was a lot of hugging and a lot of crying. There was a lot of sadness and grief. But there was also a lot of hope and a lot of faith still.
Hard to imagine what those family members are going through. Now, I did ask the president of SEACOR Marine, I said, were any of those 6 survivors who were picked up in the beginning, you may recall, were any of them privy to any transmissions from the vessel saying that, that yes, the captain made the decision on his own. And he said that one of those 6 survivors was on the bridge, and they have not questioned him yet, but will be questioning him as the investigation continues. Also, the NTSB is asking anyone if they were on the water that day, if they have any information about what happened to this vessel, or if just you were out on the water that day and you can describe the conditions to them. They're asking you to email them at eyewitness@ntsb.gov, eyewitness@ntsb.gov, because they want to include you in that investigation. They also want people who were formerly have ridden on the SEACOR Power to call them too. They have lots of questions in this investigation.